Good evening, viewers, and welcome to today's broadcast. My name remains Paul, and today's date is September the 8th, 2024. As usual, I will title today's broadcast Migrating to the US, Useful Tips, Part 7E. Today, I'm going to be dealing with the requirements for the obtainance of the R1 visa. The R1 classification is actually for religious organizations, religious persons, missionaries, and all of those who are doing religious work. It could be traditional, it could be Orthodox, it could also be Pentecostal or evangelical. And so every type of religious work comes under the R categorization of the non-immigrant visa procedure to the United States. And so it is actually possible for devout religious persons, even Muslims, once it's a religious organization, it is possible to get non-immigrant visas to come into the United States and work as a religious person under the rules and under the requirements of the classification R1 visa classifications. Now, the R1 visa is a non-immigrant temporary work visa designed for foreign nationals who wish to work in the United States in religious occupations. It's actually for religious persons of all shades and sizes: traditional, Orthodox, Pentecostal, Muslims, and just the like, once it is religious, Hindus and stuff like that. Every type of religion is included right here. This visa category applies to various types of religious workers, including but not limited to ministers, priests, religious educators, translators, and missionaries. In other words, it's a broad classification. It includes all types of religious organizations. Now, in those religious organizations, they have those that act as their ministers or as their pastors, as the common language, the head of such organizations, the other devotees as well, other high-ranking members within that group, translators, and also missionaries. You know, missionaries can be sent from one country to another on religious grounds, and in so many years back, you know, the missionaries came to Africa and stuff like that. So also in various countries of the world, they have different types of religion, and they have devotees, they have their own missionaries. They can also send to the United States from every part of the world, okay? Because the US is an open country, the immigration is welcoming, is flexible. It also has created a situation where all shades of religion can also come into the United States to practice their religion. One thing that is important is that the R1 visa classification is for religious workers, and for the length of time, as we're going to see shortly, allowed them to stay in the country. They will practice that religion alone. They're only allowed to practice that religion for which they've been approved or given that visas. Okay, so what are the requirements of the R1 visa classification, there are certain requirements. One, to qualify for an R1 visa, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, requires that foreign nationals and employers meet several criteria. So there are criteria, there are set out conditions that must be met by those religious organizations. And you have to know that it is that religious body, not the individuals, that would set on applying for this particular visa for their ministers. In other words, if you are a member of a particular religious organization, it is your religious organization that would set out to do the processes for you. So the recognition is for that religious body, the big body. Now that religious organization will then go through the steps listed under the R1 visa processes to now get visas for its pastors, ministers, translators, missionaries to now be allowed into the United States for the sole purpose of practicing that religion. In other words, those devotees and ministers under the R1 visa classification will only come into the United States to practice that religion. That visa allows them to practice in the US that faith, their faith, whether they are missionaries or whatever it is. Therefore, what are these criteria or requirements that must be met by that religious organization? Now, R1 visa qualifications for individuals include the following. In other words, for any particular individual seeking to apply to come to the US following this R1 route, now you must be able to show the following. You must be able to prove the following. One, that this individual holds at least a 2-year membership with a recognized religious denomination, with a bona fide non-profit religious organization affiliation in the United States. In other words, the individual, it could be a minister, it could be a pastor, it could be a missionary in this particular organization. You must have been a member of this group in the past 2 years. And you must be able to prove it, that you've been an active member of this particular religious group before you can even set out to now begin to apply under this category. You must have been a member of this group for 2 years. Now, there are so many religious organizations, the unorthodox ones, the orthodox ones. Some unorthodox ones, they operate like they are societies. You could call them secret cults, you could call them all kinds of things, but they come under the large grouping religious organization. So they could be a sect, it could be a secret cult, it could be a secret organization, but it functions as a religious organization. In other words, it has members. And so for the individuals in that group to now make this application through their organization, they must have been members of this group for at least in the past 2 years. They would have been in this group for at least 2 years. That's one. Two, the same religious organization must offer you a US-based job of at least 20 hours per week. And so for these ministers, that organization in their home country must have an affiliate organization, a sister organization that already exists in the United States. And so if you are coming from wherever you are coming from any part of the world, you're a member of this particular group, that religious organization must have an affiliate in the United States. An affiliate could be the same organization or a sister organization or a different kind of organization, but they work together as a larger group. And so, and the individual making this application through this organization must be offered a job within that religious grouping. So he's coming to the US through this process for the sole purpose of continuing his religious activities in this group. So you have some Christian organizations, some Christian churches, some other just Pentecostal churches and all that. You have the Orthodox, the Catholic Church, and the rest of them. Now they have their ministers in almost every part of the world. That is that kind of organization, okay? Because they are recognized, or even if it's a smaller one, maybe it's a new organization, but it has some affiliate groups in the US that partner with it. So they can, based on that affiliate groups they have, they can send their ministers over. And it is strictly to continue their religious work for that organization for that length of time they're going to be in the United States. Very important to note, okay? Now, the religious organization must have at least offered that individual coming to the US under this process 20 hours of religious work every week. 20 hours per week of that religious work. It has to be a religious work and not a bomb. Thirdly, the individual must solely serve as a clergy member or perform a religious occupation. So the individual coming under that group is only coming as a pastor, as a minister, or in whatever capacity. It must be he or she must be a devotee of this religious organization, and for that purpose, that's why he or she is coming to the US, just to continue that very religious occupation. Okay, so that is what it is. Now, to be eligible to file for the petition, because you must, as a religious organization, you must file the R1 petition. There is a petition. You could start the process by filing a petition to the State Department right in the US here. Now, to be eligible to file petitions for R1 visas, an organization must fall into one of these categories. So before an organization can be allowed to kickstart the process by filing an R1 petition, now that particular organization must have certain criteria, and they include: 1, a non-profit religious organization in the United States. In other words, it's either that religious organization is also registered in the US as a non-profit making organization. In other words, it's not a business. Okay, now if it doesn't have its own official registration in the US, it must have an affiliate organization that partners with it. So wherever that religious outfit is, but in the US, they must have an affiliate or a sister organization that represents them in the US. So there must be an affiliate, and it must be a non-profit making organization. A religious organization authorized as a group tax exemption holder. In other words, that religious organization must be exempted from paying tax. It must have that holding as tax exempted. They are not allowed to pay tax as a religious body, as a religious organization. So where the individual is coming from, or the one in the United States, they must have that registration of non-tax paying. They must be exempted from paying tax. They don't pay tax. That is one of the criteria that will distinguish it from an ordinary business, because those religious organizations are exempted from paying taxes. Okay, now another point is that a non-profit religious organization affiliated with a religious denomination in the US. So wherever that religious group is coming from, it must have an affiliate in the United States. The affiliate could be a sister religious body or some kind of a different religious body. They work together as a group. So it's important for that recognition that there is an affiliate body that partners with the foreign one, or that is an extension of the foreign one. So there must be a non-profit religious organization affiliated with a religious denomination. So that religious organization coming from any part of the world must have an affiliate in the United States. Now, the next point to note would be, how do you start it up? How to apply for an R1 visa? How do you kickstart it? Now, there are 3 parts to the R1 visa application process. There are 3 parts to it. Okay, so the first part, the second part, and the third. Now, the first part is filing the petition. So you must file a petition to the State Department. Now, after filing the petition, if the application goes through, you now get to the second part, which is applying for a non-immigrant visa, because the R1 for that minister who is going to come from his or her country. Now, if the petition is approved in the US, it is now sent to the American embassy in that foreign country, and then that minister, that devotee, will now start the process by applying for a non-immigrant. It's usually classified as a non-immigrant visa. Okay, it's classified, the R1 visa is classified as a non-immigrant visa. So once the petition has been approved in the US, it is now sent overseas to the American embassy or consulate, and then the devotee, the priest, the minister, or whoever is coming under that organization must then now proceed to go and file for a non-immigrant visa. Okay, now the third one will be after applying for a non-immigrant visa in the foreign country at the American consulate in that country, and then there will be interviewing with the US embassy or consulate. So once you have applied for the non-immigrant visa, the next thing will be, you have to attend an interview. So I will give few more details how that happens. Okay, now the first stage is filing the petition. First, now religious employers must complete Form I-129, that is petition for a non-immigrant worker. The Form I-129 is for it's a petition for a non-immigrant worker. For non-immigrant worker, you have to fill out that Form I-129 by that religious organization that is registered in the United States, or that is operating in the US, the big affiliate in the United States. So you have to file that Form I-129. You must file that petition, and once you file that petition will be filed. It costs like $460 to file, which the employer will pay, and requires proof of tax exemption. Now you have to file that petition on Form I-129 for a non-immigrant worker, and then you have to pay the fees. And after paying the fees, you also have to prove to the USCIS that your organization is tax exempted, that you don't pay tax. Now the second part will be, in most cases after receiving the petition, the USCIS will conduct an on-site visit to confirm the relationship between the employer and the religious denomination. In other words, now, if that petition has been filed by the religious group now to the USCIS, the USCIS will now start its own investigation. And what it will do will be, first and foremost, to pay an unscheduled visit to that religious denomination in order to ascertain the relationship between itself and the organization in the foreign country that is employing that minister. The minister is coming through a religious organization. The minister, the devotee, the pastor, the priest, or whatever it is. It could be even a traditional healer or something, or a traditional worshiper. Now, that organization, the organization in the United States, or the denomination in the United States, and must liaise with the one overseas. They must partner together in order to send over this individual. And so the USCIS will try to establish the relationship, the affiliation between the one in the US and the one overseas, in order to be sure that, yes, they are religious organizations, and then they want to confirm the relationship and how long they've been working together, how long they've been partnering together, and how long it had actually taken them before they got to that point. Okay, so it is just to making sure that there's no fraud. Now, after that, the foreign national can begin the application process after the employer receives approval via Form I-797, titled Notice of Action. In other words, once the petition has been filed, the USCIS will now carry out its investigations, and then the response will come out. And once the petition is approved on Form I-797, now that Form 797 is now called the Notice of Action. Now it approves that petition for that religious denomination in the US that has the affiliate, or that has its sister organization overseas wanting to send that minister. Now that is that it has been approved, and then they now are allowed to proceed on with all other requirements or criteria for that R1 visas to happen. So let me thank you all for watching, and I'm going to take the second part. Maybe in a few days time from now, I'll come back and conclude it. I want to take it piecemeal because somehow there are some technical aspects to it, and I wouldn't want to bombard you all with all of the information at the same time. But the truth is that it is possible. It is out there. It's in the immigration law books. It is active. It can be utilized. And so the information is that all religious devotees, traditional, Orthodox, unorthodox, some secret cults, some insofar as it's a religious grouping, and you have a sister or a parent company here or an affiliate in the United States, now you can send in your ministers, your devotees, your bigwigs, those who are in charge of those denominations, to come in and work for your religious organization for the length of time they're going to be in the United States. And let me also tell you that this particular non-immigrant visa category, the R1, it is dual intent. Maybe in my next video I will explain what that means, because it's a very encouraging category as well. I want to thank you all for watching, and like I will always say, I need to read your comments, I need you to share, I need you to like, and above all, I need you to follow me because I'm building my page. Okay, so I need you to follow me on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. I need your encouragement for me to continue to produce this useful information. I need to hear from you. Thank you for all of your my friends who have been sending me messages, encouraging me, because they've been following me. I need you all to continue to share, to like, and to comment. Until I come your way again, I remain your very good friend, Paul. Thank you, and bye for now.